Now that looks just what I want. Oh, this really is a struggle. Now I'm starting with a slightly off-white colour for the snow. Now I've mixed a colour, it's like a purple grey colour is this. Now to get this colour I've used ultramarine blue and a cadmium red. Now if I was to use the quinacridone red it would give me a bright purple. So I don't want that, I want a sort of purple grey colour. So as I say, I'm using the cadmium red with the ultramarine blue, obviously lots of white. Now this is the reference photograph I'm using. The trouble with snow scenes, the snow, it all looks white. Now we've got to be careful here. So we've got to get the values just right. Now this is a black and white version of this reference photograph. Now this does help to see the values a little bit more, but I've taken this one step further and I've put these 3 bands of pure white across. Now we can really see the values. The snow, where it actually looks really white, isn't actually white at all. So what I've decided to do with this painting, I've decided to mix this colour. I'm going to put this all over the panel and I'm going to start with that sort of value. Now I'd just like to say I've just marked this out in acrylic. This is acrylic just to give me a rough idea of where those trees are in the background. Now I've actually mixed some liquid with the paint because I want this to dry overnight. I don't know if this is actually picking up on the camera, to be honest, but you can see if I put some thicker parts on, and you see it is just slightly darker there. I put 2 or 3 coats of gesso on this panel and it's all white, so it gives me a good idea of this just being off white, if you will. Right, this is all dry, so I'm going to do these background trees now. Now the colours I've mixed for these background trees are ultramarine blue and cadmium red. I'm going to use a very old brush here to start painting these trees, so we'll see how we go on. And now I'm using this old brush because I really want these trees, the edges of these trees, to be quite soft. I'm not looking for any hard sort of detail here. I'm just scrubbing this paint on really. Now it's quite red along this area, so I'm just going to use even more cadmium red for this area. We'll just get this covered first. As you can tell, I'm just working this out as I'm going along really. Tends to be how I paint my pictures. See these nice soft sort of edges we can get with an old brush that, so I just never throw old brushes away. Right, I'm going to start using another old brush. It's a lot smaller. Just to get in a little bit of detail, but I'm not putting much in. Now for some of these trunks coming up here, I'm just using the edge of this brush here. So I'm just keeping it, there's hardly any paint on my brush at all. And just keeping it, everything very soft, because this is where the light is as well. Right, so I'm just going to start using a rag just to take some of this paint off while it's still wet. And this just gives me an idea of where some of the snow is going to be going. Right, I'm going to leave those background trees now. That's as much as I can do until it's actually dry. once those trees are dry, I'll start putting the snow on. What I'll do now is I'll start working on these shadow areas in the foreground. Right, for the shadow areas, I'm just sticking with the same colours. Obviously I'll be putting some white with this. I think that's just about the right colour and tonal value. I just want this paint put on very thinly, so we get these nice lovely soft edges for the shadows. So it gets that sort of soft, sort of fluffy feel into the snow. Right, I'm really happy with that layout. You see, I've just roughly marked out where the shadows are going, and honestly this colour is just perfect. Again, I'm just using these three colours that I've started with. I haven't used another colour yet in this painting, but this colour is perfect. As I've said in previous videos, you can't really tell the correct colour or value when you've mixed it on your palette. You need to just keep trying it on your actual painting, and then suddenly you'll find a colour that's just right. Now I'm actually using liquin here because I want this painting, I want to get it finished in the next 2 or 3 days. Ideally, I suppose if I had the time, the luxury of time, I would use another medium, say linseed oil or something, but it would probably take a week or two for it to dry. So if you do happen to have the luxury of time like that, then yes, I would suggest using linseed oil as a medium. It is my favourite medium. You know, I like using liquid because it does dry fast. Unfortunately, it can dry a little bit too fast sometimes. Although it's still wet for at least 24 hours, the actual workability of the paint can deteriorate within two or 3 hours. It starts becoming quite stiff and tacky. So, depending on the temperature, of course. Right, I'm just going to show you as I've softened this one up here. Right, I'm just going to use an older brush. I'm just going to soften this shadow up here and just talk you through that. Okay. Right, it's got a bit more paint on here. Now, I've got to make sure there's hardly any paint on here. It really is stiffening up as this paint now. I'm beginning to think whether I should have had the patience and used linseed oil for a medium. And blend that better with a rag. This is actually working quite well. No, this really is a struggle. I really think I've slipped up here. In hindsight, I certainly should have used linseed oil to thin this paint down. I think it's just making a little bit more difficult is this, but it is working, as you can see. Right, I'll carry on with the rest of them before they dry completely. I can't believe it. I'm having more success with this larger brush actually. Now that looks just what I want. This is just how I want it. So that's perfect, is that. But it will be a little bit more difficult when I start using a smaller brush for the detailed parts of the shadows. You know, every time I do a painting, there's always an issue. There's always something that doesn't quite go right. You know, it just drives me nuts. Drives me nuts. And every now and again, you get a painting that just goes so smoothly. You start questioning whether there's something wrong with the painting because it's been too easy. I really do wish I had used linseed oil for this medium. I mean, I can work fast, but I can't work this fast. Right, I think that's about all I can do today. But it's coming along all right at the moment. I'm quite happy with it, despite all the difficulties I had with the paint drying very quickly. It didn't exactly go according to plan, this, but paintings very rarely do go according to plan. Certainly you will get problems and issues with paintings, and more so when you're painting different subjects. As I say, it's been a few years since I painted a snow scene, so the thing is, with it drying too quickly, I've actually achieved quite a nice effect. So I'm quite pleased with it, yeah. Right, time to put the snow on these trees now. Now, I don't want to be fiddling around with a small brush, so I decided to use this. I think it's about a ½ inch, something like that. So I just want this to have a nice sort of feel to it. Now I'm starting with the darker colour. Now the secret here with the snow is just not to put any sort of detail. It's just get this sort of nice soft sort of look and feel to this snow. Just get this appearance of it just merging with the snow on the ground. So I'm just fading out, just as I'm brushing down. You can see it's just fading out where the paint is. It's just that brushing along the texture of the panel there. And it's just giving those really nice sort of soft edges. So a little bit sharper on the top where the snow is, and then just fading out. Very gently touch the surface of this painting with this. I just want to get this really nice soft look to it. Snow is, you know, very, very soft and fluffy, isn't it really, is it? You know, you see it hanging off the trees when you're walking through the woods and that. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Right, I just want to put some snow on these branches here, so I'm using a very small brush now. Shall have to get my stick out, so I just need a little bit of support for this one. Surprising, isn't it? This actually looks white on there, but as you can see on my palette it isn't white at all. Anyway, you can mix colours all you want to your heart's content on your palette, but you've got to try them on the painting. Colours change drastically when they're put adjacent to other colours and tones. I found that quite satisfying, putting that snow on there, so I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to work on this side now. Right, so I'm just going to add a few highlights here with some white, just very gently. Now, having these correct values of the snow on here means that I can actually now add this white to create these highlights. Now, on certain areas I just like to brush over with my finger just to really soften those edges. It gives a really nice, soft, snowy effect. So if you find any areas that are just a little bit hard and they just tend to jump out at you, trying not to hold my breath really while I'm doing this. Right, so I'll just add a few more over on this side. Now, because the sun's here, I've just put a little bit more cadmium red with this dark colour. Again, I'm just making these suggestions. They're almost just like mark making, just to give the appearance of these sort of small branches and twigs and, well, the grass, I suppose. Some of it's grass as well, just sticking out of the snow. Right, whoops. Right, I think that's it for today. What I'm going to do now, as soon as that's dry, I'm going to put some glazing over here just to get that effect of that sun coming through. So I think that will be done then. So hopefully this will be dry tomorrow and I can carry on with that and just finish it off tomorrow. Right, so I'm just adding some of this sort of peachy, pinky colour to where the sun is reflecting, the setting sun here. Well, the sun's quite low down in the sky over here, so I'm just adding some colour. What I've done is I've mixed white, cadmium yellow and quinacridone red together to get this colour. Just zoomed in here just to show you, have a closer look. I always find these sorts of colours go really well with snow scenes, because a snow scene can be very cold looking, so it's just to get the sun, the late evening sun on the snow. I just want to add just a tiny amount, really, just to warm up the snow on the ground. I could do with putting a glaze on really, but I'm just going to try and very gently scumble on to this paint that's already on. I mean, it's barely noticeable really. Got to be careful because some of the paint underneath is still wet. I know I said I was going to wait until tomorrow when it was dried, but I couldn't wait. Right, now with this larger brush, I've just added a little bit of the cadmium yellow to some white. This is just where the sun is. It's just up around here somewhere. I don't want the viewer to look at this and see pink, yellows. I want the viewer to look at this and see the light. If that makes sense. So I find getting this illusion of light very enjoyable and also very challenging. It can be quite difficult. Just to get it just right, you know. Quite difficult to get it. Just get that illusion of light. Right, what I would like to do here is just flick some paint on, get some splashes of paint on. I quite like that technique. Now I tend to use this technique with my acrylic painting, but it's a lot easier because you get the right consistency. It's a little bit more difficult with oils, getting the right consistency of paint, so I'm going to try it with this. I've just diluted some white with some liquin and a little bit of mineral spirits. Just gives that illusion of the light coming through the trees.